activate their battle badges.
I got fire! I got water! Water beats fire!
Battle beast!
Wood! Fire! Fire beats...
How did a tiny army of animal warriors with a hidden secret take over toy aisles and then completely disappear just a few years later? In the late 1980s, toy stores were packed with giants. Massive franchises dominated everything, backed by cartoons, commercials, and endless merchandise. But somehow, a line of small, strange figures managed to break through the noise. They didn't rely on size or flashy marketing, they relied on something much simpler and much smarter. But just as quickly as they rose, they vanished. So what made these tiny fighters so powerful, and why couldn't they survive? The answer starts in a place most people didn't expect. Before they were known as battle beasts, they began in Japan in 1986. Now, the company behind them wasn't new to success. They had already helped create one of the biggest toy lines in the world. This new idea started as a spin-off, something smaller, simpler, but still connected to that same world. But instead of giant robots, the concept focused on animals, small, armored, human-like animals. And each figure stood only a couple of inches tall, but the level of detail made them feel much bigger. They carried weapons, wore futuristic gear, and looked like warriors from a completely different world. And at first, they were meant to connect directly to an existing franchise. Early versions even included space for symbols that would link them to that universe. But when the idea expanded beyond Japan, everything changed. The connection was removed, the name was changed, and the figures were sent out on their own. So in 1987, they arrived in new markets under a different identity. They were now known as Battle Beasts, and they had something no other toy line had: a secret. At first glance, the figures looked like simple collectibles, but on their chest was something that changed how kids played with them: a small, dark sticker. It didn't look like much until it was touched. With a bit of warmth, the sticker revealed a hidden symbol, and each figure had one of three elements: fire, wood, or water, and that turned the figures into a game.
Incredible creatures who fight for the fun of it.
Wood! Fire! Fire burns wood!
Fire defeated wood defeated water, water defeated fire. It was simple, instantly understandable, and completely, as it turned out, addictive. Because now every figure wasn't just something to collect, it was something to use. Every time two figures faced off, there was a winner, and every time a new pack was opened, there was a mystery waiting to be revealed. And that combination changed everything, because it tapped into something powerful: the excitement of not knowing, the thrill of discovery, and the need to collect more. The figures were often sold in pairs, but their abilities stayed hidden until they were opened, and that meant every purchase felt like a surprise. And kids, of course, kept coming back, because the more figures they had, the more battles they could create. And it didn't take long for the line to explode. Within a short time, dozens of different characters were released. Each one had its own look, its own personality, and its own place in the growing world. Some were fierce, some were strange, some were instantly memorable, and all of them felt unique. The design stood out, the details were sharp, and even though they were small, they felt important. They didn't need to be large, they didn't need to be expensive, they just needed to be fun. And for a while, that was enough. The line grew quickly. More characters were added, more variations appeared, even small vehicles were introduced to expand the world. And for a brief moment, it worked perfectly. Battle Beasts carved out their own space in one of the most competitive toy markets ever. They didn't replace the giants, but they stood right next to them, and that's when the problem started. Because success in a crowded market comes with pressure, and that pressure, unfortunately, doesn't go away. Actually, it builds. So by the late 1980s, the toy industry was becoming more aggressive. The biggest brands weren't just selling toys anymore, they were building full worlds. Television shows, ongoing stories, and constant exposure kept those brands alive in the minds of kids every day. But Battle Beasts didn't have that. There was no major show supporting them. There was no ongoing story that introduced new characters or built deeper connections. So without that, something important was missing: context. The figures looked interesting, the game mechanic worked, but there wasn't a larger story pulling everything together. And over time, that started to matter. At the same time, the very feature that made the toy special began to weaken. The heat-sensitive stickers weren't permanent, and with enough use, they faded, they stopped working, or they became harder to read. And when that happened, the core of the experience started to break. Because, of course, without the hidden symbol, the game didn't work the same way. And what once felt exciting now felt kind of unreliable. And that, of course, created frustration. Now, at the same time, something else was happening. The novelty was wearing off. At first, the concept felt new. But as more figures were released and more time passed, the experience just kind of stayed the same. The system didn't evolve, the gameplay didn't change, and without something new to keep it fresh, interest, unfortunately, began to fade. The market moved forward, but the line stayed where it was, and that gap, it started to grow. So the creators made a change, a major one in fact. They removed the original feature entirely. The heat-sensitive symbol was now gone, and in its place was something new, a clear element that could be revealed using a light. Now, it was meant to refresh the experience, to bring something a little different, but it didn't have the same impact. The original feature worked because it was immediate, it was simple, it was interactive. But the new version felt less engaging, less surprising, and less fun. And at the same time, other changes were made. Weapons shifted from simple designs to more futuristic styles. The tone felt different, and the identity started to change. And with each change, the line moved further away from what originally worked, and the response wasn't strong enough. Interest just didn't return, and without strong support, the line couldn't survive. So, within just a few years, it was over. Production stopped, the figures disappeared from shelves, and just like that, the entire line faded out. However, that wasn't the end of the story, because even though the toys were gone, the memory stayed. And for those who experienced them, the appeal didn't disappear. The designs, the battles, the feeling of discovering something hidden, it all stayed. And over time, the line found a new life. Collectors began searching for the figures again. Rare versions became valuable, and what was once a simple toy became something else, a piece of history. Because Battle Beasts represented something specific. A moment when creativity and simplicity came together in the right way. They didn't rely on massive budgets. They didn't need a full story. They worked because they offered something immediate, something interactive, something a little bit different. And for a short time, that was enough to compete with the biggest names in the industry. So what caused their rise and fall? Well, the rise came from a simple but brilliant idea that made every figure feel like a game. But the fall came from a market that demanded more, a feature that didn't last, and a concept that just didn't evolve fast enough. But their legacy didn't disappear, because even now, the idea still stands out. A small figure, a hidden symbol, and a battle decided in the palm of a hand. Some toys are remembered because they lasted, others are remembered because they were different. And sometimes, the ones that disappear the fastest leave the strongest impression.